Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Yes. I'm gonna try to balance the level of energy I have this morning because I just had coffee and I know it's early in the morning. So, anyone from local from Columbus? Yeah. Last night I went to we went with my team to Thurman Cafe. Yeah, I don't regret it one bit, but at the time when I went to bed, I was kind of regretting it a little bit. But okay, let's get started. All right. First of all, I wanna, of course, thank our sponsors. Um, this event, as well as many other community events, um, wouldn't be possible without their help. I also wanna thank the organizers and anyone who is a community group leader. I don't know if you can raise your hand if you're a community group leader. I know Linda, of course. Really appreciate all the effort and going the extra mile just for the love of the community. So really appreciate you guys. Um, so today, I'm gonna do a quick intro on myself, introduce myself for those who don't know me. But we're gonna dive right into the Saleforce Data Cloud free edition. We're gonna talk about what it is. We're gonna talk a little bit more about how pricing works. I think it's important to understand a little bit into the pricing model of Salesforce Data Cloud, so you can take advantage of the free edition of Data Cloud, but also as you make decisions to purchase the full edition, kind of how to calculate the pricing. We're gonna talk about what is included and not included in the free edition of Salesforce Data Cloud, and then I'm gonna dive right into a demo of doing a walkthrough of the tool and what you can do with the free edition of Data Cloud. And then we're gonna have final takeaways, and we're gonna do, if it works, we're gonna do a quiz. And we're gonna have super mega fun prizes at the end. So stay, you cannot leave until the end of the session. And if I see you leave, I'm gonna yell at you. Okay, so a little about myself. I don't know what to say. I mean, I started as a software developer when I was 18 years old. So, and I'm 20 now, so only 2 years in the software development. I've been working. I started getting into Salesforce with ExactTarget in 2012, working for a consulting partner. And actually, I heard in one of the sessions someone saying Marketing Cloud engagement doesn't have a sandbox environment. Developers cannot, get access to a sandbox environment. And I also was, when I was coding a lot more heavily, had that issue. So I created MC Snippets, which is an app that is like a playground that you can build, code with AMP script, server-side JavaScript, and SQL in both emails and cloud pages without having the need of accessing Marketing Cloud instance. So that's kind of like my passion project at the moment. Also, beekeeping is another passion project. I realized I didn't have many hobbies outside of coding, so I was like, I'm gonna pick something else. How about beekeeping? And then Jason Statham took a piece of my life to make the movie The Beekeeper. And then in 2015, I decided to start my own company. I got tired of complaining everything that was wrong about how we were doing things, and I felt that, I have a lot of experience with different roles. I feel like I could try it. So I started a company in 2015 called Devs United. I borrow the logo from the Seattle Sounders MLS club, if you're into the MLS. Because I like soccer and I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I guess we because we are a very boutique shop, very focused on Salesforce Marketing Cloud engagement, and now we're getting more into Data Cloud and Marketing Cloud personalization. I like to call us like a digital marketing agency powered by Salesforce. It started taking off. A lot of clients, I guess it was like a niche thing, and it started growing and growing and growing and growing. We have offices in the US, and then we have offices in Argentina. That's where I'm from, although I live in Cleveland. I have another session titled "Why Did I Move to Cleveland?" but that's for another conference. And then in 2019, after just growing and growing very rapidly, we were at a point that said, okay, what do we do? Like, do we start investing our money into the company to grow more strategically? Do we get funding, or do we partner with another company that complements what we do better? So that's why in 2019 we joined Marcus Thomas. Kind of like coming back full circle, and it's been a great adventure and journey for me, of learning how to go through acquisitions and stuff like that. But Marcus Thomas is integrated marketing communications agency, and they do everything from strategy, creative, media, web and mobile app, analytics, and now we do CRM and marketing automation. And since the acquisition in 2018, we started growing a lot more. We had offices. We started an office in Santiago. We have people in all over, and we do work with clients all over the North and South America. So I like to think that because of that, we were able to really bring that full circle of using different technologies and embedding Salesforce into it to provide the whole human experience, as I call it, fun. So that's a little of my story. Any beekeepers in the room? Oh, yeah, there you go. I knew. I always ask a question, so we're gonna talk later because I hope you're experienced, because I'm not. All right, so let's talk about Data Cloud, because that's why you're here. So, can you tell me a little bit? I mean, how many of you are using Data Cloud today? Okay, good. How many of you have been trying to get sold Data Cloud? Okay, but you're familiar. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about the overview of what Data Cloud is. Any Marketing Cloud engagement users in the room? Okay, just a few. Good. All right. So Data Cloud. Okay, it looks okay. Data Cloud, basically, I like to think that Data Cloud is not as a platform that allows you to get what is called the single source of truth, but it's more like a really good system of reference, So typically you will implement Data Cloud once you have some sort of Salesforce footprint, whether that's Salesforce CRM ideally, or maybe you have an ERP system, or you have a data warehouse, and you have different data sources of data. That could be data coming from Marketing Cloud, data coming from AWS, data coming from your data lake, right? And the idea is that the way the Data Cloud works is that you will ingest all the raw data first, and then what you will do with all that raw data, you will harmonize it. So the way to harmonize it is and we're gonna look at that a little more in the demos when we look at the demos. But you're gonna harmonize the raw data, to a common model that initially was called the Cloud Information Model, but now it's called Data Model Objects. But the idea is that having a common model shared by one tool allows you to do things like identity resolution, and it also allows you to do things like segmentation, and it allows you to do things like calculated insights or business intelligence. And then it allows you obviously to put an AI layer on top of all your data, so you can predict outcomes and whatnot. And then you have the activation, right? So you can activate into Salesforce CRM, but with data actions. You can send data into flows, for example. You can activate into Marketing Cloud or any other third-party email marketing tool, and you can activate also into advertising platforms and whatnot. But the reason why I don't know if I like the concept of single source of truth is because you might have multiple identities of a person sometimes, and that person might have different relationships with different um, sources of data. But the most important thing is that I feel like Data Cloud allows you to harmonize and understand that data better. So for example, I could have a profile as Pato, and I could have all my data relationships with the e-commerce store or the stores that I'm buying on site. But I could also be Pato, and I could have relationship with other sources of data that have to do with maybe the transactions that I do overseas or something like that. So it's not to be confused. Sometimes Data Cloud gets confused with a master data management platform, and that's more like the golden record concept. Data Cloud is more like a system of reference and harmonizing platform. So in Dreamforce, I believe maybe last year I think it was, they announced we're giving Data Cloud for free, and they show you a big QR code, and everyone scan the QR code, and then nobody know what to do with the information. So I took some time and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to figure out how I can get my free edition of Data Cloud so I can show people how to actually do it. But in addition to that, you come to find out that free should be in quotes, a little bit, but because that it doesn't include, it includes, and we're gonna talk in the next slide, but it includes capabilities to ingest customer data, unify the data, run identity resolution, create calculated insights, visualize with Profile Explorer. It also includes 2 Tableau Creator licenses, which I think is really cool. But it's not the same process to get Data Cloud free and the 2 Tableau Creator licenses. You have to do 2 different processes to get the Tableau Creator licenses and to get the Data Cloud. That's something that you need to know. But what is not included is segment and activation capabilities. I'm gonna have a link to a QR code that it will give you some useful information, because you could download this deck at the end. So how pricing works? So Data Cloud pricing, or at least the latest information, and I have the source there with the pricing table, but the latest information, Data Cloud pricing, I always recommend people always talk to your account executive to talk about pricing, because you could be grandfathered into like a specific pricing model. There used to be like CDP pricing that was based on consumption and whatnot. So always talk with your account executive, because the information I'm giving you might not be exactly what you have in your contract. But you can think about the pricing in 3 layers. You have storage. So you have to account for how much storage you're gonna have in your Data Cloud instance, and then you have credits, which is separated into service credits, and then segmentation and activation credits. So you can actually buy service credits, which are the ones that are in this table. These are the service credits, for example. And then you can buy segmentation and activation credits separately. That's why the free edition of Data Cloud doesn't have segmentation and activation, because you don't have any credits for segmentation and activation. And then you have add-on. So for example, data spaces is a feature that allows you to break down your Data Cloud org into separate data spaces. Say, like if you have business units and you want to separate your data into separate spaces, you can do that, but that has pricing attached to it. And then if you want to have advertising audiences, like sending data to Facebook, Google, Amazon, that has a pricing. So for example, so Data Cloud Free comes with 250K data service credits, or if you are Unlimited Plus, I think it's called, or Unlimited Pro, I don't remember. you get 2.5 million data service credits and 1 terabyte of storage. Okay, this is applied if you have an enterprise edition and above of Saleforce. You can apply for free, and we're going to see it on the demo. You can apply for free in the data cloud. You see here, all the multipliers. So basically, for example, you have 250K data service credits if you have an enterprise edition, and then if you are unifying 1 million rows of data, through the profile unification process, that's gonna cost you 100,000 credits. Okay. If and these are batch usage, so it means that it's calculated based in the amount of batch data processed by Data Cloud across all the connections. Okay, so when it says batch, it means that it's calculated across all the data that is processed, and streaming usage is calculated on the number of records that are ingested at the time. Okay, so batch means that it's calculated in one batch, right? So for example, if you are using the real-time profile API, so the real-time profile API to pull profile data and showing a POS system, for example, for every 1 million rows that you process, that's going to cost you 800 credits. Okay. So one of the most difficult parts, I think, as you are embarking in the journey of implementing Data Cloud, the free edition, you don't have a lot of risk, but you should do some calculations, because you need to know if you're going to be okay to run your use case with 250K credits. But one of the hardest parts of implementing or embarking in the journey of implementing Data Cloud is calculating how many credits am I gonna need, what's my pricing, is gonna be, what is it gonna cost. And I know for a lot of you that are trying to, sell Data Cloud, at the executive level, maybe have an executive meeting and say, oh, how much is the licensing cost? It could be really hard, especially if you have a lot of sources of data and whatnot. That's why it's very important to work with Saleforce to help you calculate, that what the contract is going to look like. But these numbers could give you an idea, because also you have to know how much does 1 million, 250K credits are worth, which is tricky. So, all right. So with Data Cloud Free, what's the value then? If I can segment data or activate data, why do you give me something for free that I can even use? Why is it the projector flickering? Why? We don't know, but it doesn't matter. So, well, it does bother me. Okay. So the value of Data Cloud is really a couple of things. One is proof of concept. Like, is our data healthy enough that we can ingest it into Data Cloud, as raw, and then map it to a data model object, right? Identity resolution. Understand that if with the data that you have, we're actually gonna be able to run identity resolution or not with Data Cloud, right? Creating calculating insights. So calculating insights are like formulas that you can run across all your sources of data, and you can use those calculated insights to show, for example, what we're gonna do in the demo, average order value. Creating calculated insights could be a really good way to prove the value of Data Cloud. And then just exploring profiles, so being able to see how the unified profile will look like, with all the insights and all the data. Really is a really good way to get familiarized with what are the capabilities of Data Cloud, because in reality, if you think about it, segmentation and activation, if you really want to see the value of a tool, segmentation, it will be creating segments, drag and drop, so you're not missing much, and activations is sending that data out, to platforms. So you get a really good set of features that you can prove the value of Data Cloud. I don't know why that's that, but it's okay. All right. So let's talk about the use case that we're gonna solve today and the demo. So at Devs United, we decided to, every time we have demos about Marketing Cloud engagement, Marketing Cloud personalization, or Data Cloud, how do we tell the story? So we created this fictitious brand called Football Shop. At this point, I wish it was a real store because I would have been a millionaire right now. But it's not a real store. But it is your one-stop shop for soccer apparel and accessories. And Football Shop basically, they have their data sources that they have are CRM. So we have contact data in CRM. We have e-commerce. So we're using Shopify for e-commerce. So we have contact data there and we have orders. We're using an ERP system. So we have client data as well. We have the product catalog and we have the store catalog as well there. And we have a point of sale system, which has also contact data and order data. Okay, so these are all the sources of data that we have in Photoshop. Doesn't sound very crazy. But again, if you start making a list, is now you start realizing, oh, I have contact data in separate sources, right? So the Football Shop requirements is, we want to prove the value of Saleforce Data Cloud. We want to invest in Saleforce Data Cloud, but first we want to do a proof of concept to see if a tool is going to work for us. So the proof of concept that we want to try is we want to have a single view of the unified profiles. And then we want to able to unify all that data and being able to calculate the average order value of the customers. So then we can show it in the service or console, so customer service and sales reps can make decisions based on that. So the flow of the demo for today, we're going to look at ingesting data from an Amazon S3 bucket. We're going to look at data modeling and map all the raw data with a standard unique model. We're going to configure identity resolution. I'm going to talk about it. And then we're going to calculate average order value. And then we're going to look at the unified profile, the 360-degree view of a customer, looking at the unified profile and its data. So how do I do this with one hand? Let's see. All right. So before that, let's start with getting Data Cloud Free edition. So to get your Data Cloud Free edition, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta go to your account settings, and then you're gonna go into browsing products, and then when you browse your products, you're gonna see that it says Data Cloud Provisioning there. So you have to do this in the org where you have your enterprise edition in, right? So you're gonna see it says Data Cloud Provisioning there, and then you add to cart, and then you click next, and then it's gonna ask you like if you wanna sign right now or if you wanna send the contract to your email. So you sign the contract, and then the other thing that you have to do, so once that opens like a DocuSign, right, that you sign, you don't read it, you just like scroll all the way down and you just sign it, doesn't matter, but no, you should send it to legal, wait 4 weeks, and then you have your Data Cloud access. So then once you sign the DocuSign, you're gonna go to the permission sets of the user that you want to give access to Data Cloud, and you're gonna give it the Data Cloud admin profile, and any users that you want them to want access, you can just give them Data Cloud admin, and there is another Data Cloud viewer profile that you can give them, and then you have access to Data Cloud in your org. So that's pretty easy. It's not explained in the QR code that you scanned in Dreamforce last year, but it's a pretty easy process. So that's all you have to do. You can do it today. Your licensing auto renews every 3 years, I think. I haven't heard any other information about that. So you can go and do that right away and play with it. Okay. Um, let's talk about data ingestion first. Okay. So by the way, I started to take the habit of doing the demos, but I pre-record them because I don't want to deal with internet connectivity issues or the thing not working, or this situation where I will have to be like, how do I demo with one hand? But these are real demos, okay? Um, like this is a real my data cloud free instance. So we're gonna start looking at ingesting data. So the first step is we're gonna have to go into data cloud setup, and we have to configure. We have all different configuration here of configure the data source that will send data to data cloud. So here, for example, we have Saleforce CRM. You have by default you will be connected your org, the org that you install data cloud, but you can also connect another org, a separate org as well. So you have the football shop org connected there, and then here you can configure Amazon S3. So if you are sending files, in this example we're sending files from the ERP to an S3 bucket. You can create a connection with Amazon S3, and then we have other connectors available as well as Google BigQuery, and whatnot, FTP. So once we set up the data stream, the connection, we're gonna configure the data stream. This is basically telling the system, okay, I want to bring data from my from my e-commerce, and I have all the files in the S3 buckets, and I just want to bring all the raw data. That's all I want to do for now. Okay. So we're gonna go. You can see also the total records processed, in there, and we can see, for example, the point of sales order is a data stream that we ingested from Amazon S3. But if you want to create a new data stream, all we have to do is just create new. You're going to choose what is the source of data that we have previously set up. So for example, Saleforce CRM could be one. But let's take a look at the e-commerce order data stream. So one of the things you should know is that yes, you will go through a process of ingesting your data file. In this case, it's a CSV file. You tell it, okay, this data file is in a S3 bucket, bring it over, and then it's going to show you this view. And you say, okay, this is the columns that you have in your field. But you can actually customize that. Why is that important? Is because it might happen sometimes that you have to massage the data a little bit before it's actually mapped out into the data model option. Okay. So here, for example, I have different formulas that I could apply as I'm streaming the data. So that way, I can create almost like a formula fields in CRM, right? So I can auto-calculate data that then can be mapped into the data model objects. Common use cases include like concatenating fields as well. I would recommend trying to clean up your data before it's ingested into data cloud. There is another functionality that you can actually do almost ETL processes as you are streaming the data into data cloud. You can do a lot more advanced data massaging before it gets into data cloud. But that could have a cost. That could have a performance cost. That could have a data crate cost. So if you can, try to work with your team to clean up the data before it gets into data cloud. That's a good opportunity to do that. But you always have this option to massage the data a little bit before it gets into the data stream. So let's look at data mapping. So once we brought all the raw data, we'll map it to a common model. This is called data model objects. Okay, so we're gonna look at the e-commerce order. Okay, so this is my data stream. Okay, so we have e-commerce orders there. So it's the raw data that we brought. Okay, but the data cloud, basically, one of the main advantages of data cloud is you map all your raw data to a common data model that is called data model objects, and each entity has already been created, beforehand. So you start with a very good baseline, data model object baseline, but you can actually create your own custom data model objects as well. You can actually add fields to the objects that are part of a data model. You can modify the field type and the relationships between the objects. But it's important, another part that is very important about implementing data cloud is really understanding what is this data model, what are the existing entities and relationships that are available today. And there is a documentation that you can see, in the developer's Saleforce site that shows you all the different entities that relate to each other and that come out of the box. It is also documentation on the Saleforce site that shows you, I think it's called where's my mouse? Where's my mouse? Okay, there you go. That shows you, the different entities of a customer 360 data model. Why is this important? Because again, if you just ingest all your raw data, you won't know what to map it to. And Data Cloud, with the out-of-the-box connector, like the CRM connector, for example, it already maps automatically to the entities, but you have to understand what those entities are. In addition to that, for identity resolution to be possible, there are certain requirements that you need to have. For example, mapping your entities to a data model object called individual, and to data model objects for addresses, so contact address, email, and whatnot. So very important to understand the data model. So we're gonna go ahead. You can see all the entities mapped to e-commerce, and we can see contact. This one is, for example, already automatically mapped, and you can see here my my identities and my contact addresses mapped automatically. This is gonna be needed to map to perform identity resolution. And then we have a data model tab over here, where we can kind of see in a graph all the relationships between all the objects that are mapped. So you can kind of use this as a validation. So, okay, this is look right, this is all mapped correctly. So we can, for example, we have different categories as well of entities: profile, engagement, and other. That's also important to know. Profile entities are going to be the ones used for identity resolution and activation, and engagement data is going to be used for segmentation. So here we can see like kind of the different relationships between the objects. After we mapped everything with our common model, we're gonna go ahead and work on identity resolution. Okay. So with identity resolution, as you can see here, we have, as we talked in the use case, we have three entities that we have mapped that relate to profile that has profile data: the CRM contact object, the e-commerce client data, and the ERP client data. Those three entities have people data, right? Profile data. So how we need to unify it, so we have a unique profile, ideally, of a customer. Sorry. So we go into identity resolution, and here we have one identity resolution configured. So identity resolution is comprised of two things: matching rules and reconciliation rules. Matching rules means how you're gonna match, how you're gonna identify profiles that match, right? So in this case, we're matching by email, phone, and first name, email address, and birthday. either one of those is going to say, okay, if I have two records that have similar email addresses, that's what fuzzy means, I'm going to match them. And then you have reconciliation rules, which means, okay, I found 3 records a match, but I have birth dates in three different data sources. From which data source do you want me to take the birth date? So reconciliation rules, in this case, we're setting, a reconciliation rule for the occupation field, allows you to say how to prioritize, from which data source you want to get. Once you have a match, from which data source. And so in this case, we'll say, okay, prioritize, the e-commerce client data file, and prioritize based on the source, that came from. But you can also prioritize by the last time that it was updated or processed, for example. So identity resolution is 2 things: matching rules to match, how to match records, by what algorithms, and reconciliation rules, which is, if I have conflicting, records, which one do I take? So once we set up our identities, what's going to happen is the system is going to run the identity resolution, and then you're going to have a new entity called unified profile. And the unified profile is usually what you can use to do activations, segmentations, calculated insights. But again, that's a separate entity. Because why? Because maybe I want to do a segment or an activation to my CRM contacts, but I do have also unified profiles, as an entity. It's important to know that you can have more than one identity resolution running. Okay. There could be different use cases. If you have data from multiple business units in Data Cloud, you're gonna have that use case. That's going to produce multiple unified profile objects as well. So it's not going to go into the same data model object, it's going to go into separate data model objects. All right, calculating insights. Calculating insights is a way that you can actually create auto-calculated values with the data that you brought. So you have different options to create calculated insights. You can use SQL to run your calculated insights, or you can create it from a package, or you can use a builder. In this case, we're going to show you the builder. Okay, so here, the builder is a graphical interface that allows you, okay, I have the different, unify individual and the individual, the sales order data, and I'm joining all this data, and then I'm going to aggregate, I'm going to add all the data, the total amount, the sales order, and whatnot, and then I'm going to calculate an average. This is kind of like a simple one, average order value. You can probably do this with a query, but again, with a visual editor, it could be a lot easier for, complex use case, or for having other maybe non-technical team members. And then in the Data Explorer, you can actually see the data that you have on the calculated insights that you created. So we're looking at average purchase value here, and we can see the different unified individuals, and we can see the different values. We can use this to validate, if our calculated insights are working or not. And lastly, Profile Explorer. So we went from ingesting raw data, modeling to a common model, running identity resolution so we can have unified profiles, creating the average order value, and now we're gonna see the how a profile looks like. So if we go to Profile Explorer, this is where you're gonna be able to actually see all the attributes about a profile. So here we're gonna search for a profile for an email address, for example. We click on View, and here you can see, you can actually obviously edit the fields that you want to see on this page, with Page Builder, but we can see all the fields, the initial fields, and we can see all the unified data that were the result of running identity resolution. So we can see all the contact forms that were unified, all the addresses, and we can see our insights. These insights, calculated insights, Saleforce released a lighting component that you can actually add in CRM, that you can put a calculated insight into CRM, which I think is kind of cool. And here we can see activity. If you are processing engagement data, you can see activity there as well. So this is kind of like a nice view of like the whole picture, of the customer. Okay. So as you can see, there is a lot that we can do with the free edition of Data Cloud to prove, if it's gonna work for your organization. Yes, you cannot do segmentation activation, but there is a lot that you can do. So a few final takeaways. It's very important to understand what are the steps to implement Data Cloud. Like I said, just making sure that understanding what use cases you're going to produce, and really understand. Okay, if I have 250K crates, is how much data? Like don't be processing all your customer data every night if you don't need to. Just send a snapshot of it and turn it off. Because otherwise that's gonna consume credits, right? Again, discover interesting use cases that will add value to your business, but also prove that your organization can take advantage of Data Cloud. And then understand the capabilities and evaluate, okay, if I were to buy the full version, we went through a process of ingesting data. What does that mean? What does that mean for my team? And for the organization. At Devs United, we actually implemented a new program called Data Cloud ROI Accelerator. So we've done Data Cloud implementations for several clients to date. What we have noticed is that a lot of customers, they don't want to have an agency come in and come implement Data Cloud and leave. If you do that, the organization is gonna fail. A lot of organizations need to adopt the tool and be the owners of the tool. So one of the things we started doing is like what I call co-implementation. It's like let's work together on the implementation of a tool. We'll break down the task, and we can do it faster and more efficiently. So, but the first thing we do is actually we offer this free assessment where we help you say, okay, it's a free edition of Data Cloud. It's gonna work for you. It's not time yet because maybe you don't have your data organized. It's not going to be worth it. So we actually help you try to figure out if Data Cloud, the free edition, is good for you or not, and it is useful for us to validate, can we actually pull this off in 3 months. So on month 1 we connect all the data, on month 2 we implement, and in month 3 we do final testing, and the last month we focus on, okay, rolling out. How do we roll out training, the change, and start helping people adopt the platform. I'm gonna leave a slide here. This has contact information. This QR code has our contact information. You can contact me on LinkedIn. There is a website, email address, but also there is a link there that has the deck, the PDF version of the deck. So let me see. I'm gonna connect to internet real quick. We have 15 minutes, so I think